This episode is sponsored by Anchor. If you're looking for a platform to start a podcast, you can start with Anchor for free. It is convenient to record your podcast on a mobile app or on your computer. You can edit and save your audio files. There are no limits to a number of storage, trial periods, and number of episodes on Anchor. It is automatically distributed to Spotify and other listening platforms. You can get paid with no listenership, plays, and downloads. Welcome to another episode of the Brewer Podcast. This is your main solo speaker, Alex. Call me Burjay or Burry. I will be talking about lots of things relating to pop culture. Not only this is about pop culture, it is also a social media trend. I want to cover the topics such as Joe Rogan dispute with Spotify, internet. I want to cover the topics such as Joe Rogan's dispute with Spotify, the internet censorship, and then Instagram and other social media platforms banning. I want to cover the topics such as Joe Rogan's dispute. I want to cover the topics such as Joe Rogan's dispute with Spotify, internet censorship, and then other social media platforms banning sex workers because they have Onlyfans to promote their accounts. By the way, I have been very busy. I have been working on other ventures. I want to mention a disclaimer. This episode is not meant to cause a divide because I feel that this affects the whole world. This is no means to be political. I said that I will not discuss politics whenever I want to, but I feel that I have to because this is such a big deal. This internet stuff affects us. I'm going to do my best to be neutral. It's not about defending anyone at all. I find it important to talk about internet censorship because this has been going on for several years. I kept my eye on internet censorship. There have been lots of updates about internet censorship. Things kept on changing. There have been major tech companies and other major corporations that cut ties with several conservatives, including Donald Trump. I'm going to do a breakdown on each of these tech companies who cut ties with conservatives and right-wingers, including Donald Trump. That includes Parler. Parler is a social media app that drew Trump supporters and right-wing conservatives. However, Parler is used by right-wingers and Trump supporters because they are seeking alternatives like Facebook and Twitter. Parler claimed to be about free speech. Over the past several months, Parler has become one of the fastest growing apps in the United States. Since Parler lost support from major companies, it moved or registered its own platform to a company that promotes free speech for right-wingers called Epic. Millions of Trump supporters have flocked to Parler as Facebook and Twitter increasingly crack down on posts that spread misinformation and incited violence, including muzzling Mr. Trump by removing his accounts. By Saturday, Apple listed Parler as the #1 free app for its iPhones. Parler has seen a surge of new users since the November election as Trump supporters flocked to the platform for its hands-off approach to content moderation. Apple already cut ties with Parler by unlisting Parler on the Apple App Store. It's clear that Apple got rid of it. You're not able to download the app anymore. I mean, you can't download it on your phone and you can't download the app without the Apple App Store if you have an Apple product. Amazon already cut ties with Parler. Amazon said it will no longer host the site on its computing services. Parler founder and CEO John Matze lashed out in a post on his Parler account on a late Saturday night. Amazon employees called for the Parler app to be removed from Amazon app stores after the deadly U.S. Capitol Hill riot. Amazon employees made it clear that they will never tolerate violent attacks on democracy. It was also stated that Amazon should deny Parler services until it removed posts inciting violence, including at the presidential inauguration. By Saturday night, Amazon informed Parler it will no longer provide cloud services to the site. Once Parler was removed from Amazon, Parler filed a federal lawsuit against Amazon claiming the web host breached its contract. Parler CEO claimed that the actions was a coordinated attack by the tech giants to kill competition in the marketplace. Let's not forget that Twitter deactivated Trump's accounts. Twitter immediately acted against further efforts to incite violence and come after months of Trump's relentless and unfounded allegations of voter fraud and his refusal to accept his loss in the 2020 election. The platforms have been met with cries of censorship from Trump's allies and reluctant applause from others who see the efforts as long overdue. Here's how the platforms crack down on Trump and his supporters. Twitter has been slapping labels on a number of tweets Trump made that the claim is disputed. One of them was about how he won the 2020 election since November. It became an issue because Twitter considered his tweet about the election as misinformation. Twitter felt that they had to do what they had to do. Fast forward to Wednesday, January 6th, the platform locked Trump out of his account for 12 hours after the Capitol Hill assault and said it wouldn't return access until he deleted 3 tweets that violated its content policy. 2 of Donald Trump's accounts were permanently deactivated on Twitter. Twitter made an announcement that Donald Trump's account is deleted and they do not condone inciting violence. In other words, they were afraid that Trump could incite violence. Twitter also mentioned that they will continue to be transparent around their policies and their enforcement. Twitter permanently banned Steve Bannon's account because he suggested in a video that Dr. Anthony Fauci and FBI Director Christopher A. Wray should be beheaded. Donald Trump Jr.'s account was subjected to a 12-hour ban until he removed a tweet in July. That tweet in July violated terms of service. Facebook suspended Trump for 24 hours starting January 6th after he posted a video sending a message to the mob that went to the Capitol. Mark Zuckerberg announced that Trump would be banned indefinitely, though at least through the presidential transition. The platform also indefinitely disabled comments from his channel. YouTube disabled the comments so people would not incite violence. Snapchat permanently disabled Trump's account on January 14th, citing concerns over the possible spread of hate speech and threats of violence. In June of 2020, Reddit banned the subreddits that connects to Donald Trump because they were concerned that the subreddits would cause violent threats and misinformation. There are subreddits that cause people to cause a riot at the Capitol Hill. Twitch followed the footsteps of these major tech companies. Twitch disabled Trump's channel indefinitely on Thursday in response to the Capitol riot. Twitch sent an email and said that they believe this is a necessary step to protect the community and prevent Twitch from being used to incite further violence. Shopify is one of the main e-commerce platforms for online stores who removed Donald Trump's merchandise shop and personal brand from its platform in response to the Capitol attack. Shopify has been following the main tech company's footsteps to stand against the hate crimes of the riots. Shopify made a statement against Donald Trump's actions and the Capitol Hill riots. They said that Donald Trump violated their policies and they do not allow violence. They terminated stores affiliated with President Trump. There are lots of different opinions about it. There are several people being happy about Donald Trump being deplatformed from all social media platforms. This is a divided issue. I could care less about the Parler app. Misinformation is an issue. If misinformation is an issue, then why didn't these social media platforms make rules about it earlier? I'm not saying that I support censorship. I just want to know where were these warnings about extreme posts when they were on these major social media platforms before the presidential election of 2020 in November. I'm talking about the type of posts that spread a dangerous message. Have they banned posts that were extreme? I doubt it. I also wish that these tech companies should have held people accountable earlier. I don't agree with deplatforming people because they post something that you do not like as long as it's harmless. It's also because you see things that you don't like, but it does not violate the terms of service. Why won't you have a meeting with these major influencers because they feel that they did something problematic? People celebrated that Donald Trump deserved to be censored on social media. There are people that said that's what he gets for violating the terms of service. Like I said, I believe in the truth. Some people were not happy about people being deplatformed. A number of people said this is a form of censorship. I'm completely against spreading misinformation, especially if it has something to do with someone's life or a serious issue, something that you cannot prove at all. You know what I mean? I find it very dangerous and wrong on social media. I want to make this clear because this is still a divided issue. The First Amendment does not protect you from consequences. The First Amendment does not protect you from spreading misinformation. You are free to say what you want to say. What you say does not pardon you from consequences. What these tech companies did was to protect people. They did not violate the First Amendment. People claim that it's the violation of the First Amendment to censor these people. The First Amendment does not protect you from being held accountable. It was not illegal for these tech companies to remove Trump and the other people for inciting violence. I understand why they rightfully acted to stand against the riots because they did not want to be responsible for these people's actions at the riot of the Capitol Hill. The argument tech companies became large because it's based on how many people use it. Their reason to deplatform Trump was to condemn him for inciting violence at the Capitol Hill. It was also to condemn right wingers for supporting and inciting violence at the Capitol Hill. What Trump did was considered misinformation, especially when he tweeted about the general election of 2020. I believe that we have to be educated. Just educate yourself, be knowledgeable. That's an endless job. It's not something that we should change. I like to hear different opinions. As far as the Capitol riot, I'm not condoning what happened at the Capitol Hill. It's scary when you have people getting caught for getting involved in a hate crime. Being completely disassociated with these people is the best thing that most of us have done. It's very reprehensible that a small number of people showed up at the Capitol Hill for political reasons. I'm not going to apologize for standing against it because it's wrong. At least that track record of that crime is not going to follow us for the rest of our lives. No one is foolish enough to trespass the Capitol Hill. There are people who were exposed to be not only fired from their job, but also got federally arrested. I'm not going to list the names because I don't want to make this too long. We are still getting to the real story of who was involved with the riots at the Capitol Hill. The investigation is not over. I consider it to be a fair punishment, but it's a detail that I added about the Capitol Hall riot. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and other major platforms were protecting people from misinformation and violence. That's what they had to do. It's not like these major tech companies violated the law by getting rid of Donald Trump. I don't allow what message people are spreading on social media, especially if it's a dangerous message. Whatever the message was is not good. I guess that they're doing it because they believe that allowing people to incite violence will hurt their reputation. It's very clear that these main companies are very serious about their reputation. They don't want to be known as supporting violence, supporting hate. They're very liberal. They allow diverse people on the platform no matter where you're at. If you're not in line with what they believe in, then there's a chance that you can be removed. Major corporations know that. I'm not for removing something just because you have a different opinion. You don't agree with that person. That is one thing I don't like. I feel that these major tech companies are I feel that these major tech companies are hypocritical. They have a history of allowing explicit content on their platforms. It's considered problematic, let alone allowing demonic content on social media. I find some tech companies very hypocritical. If these companies are serious about people committing a crime by inciting violence, why would they keep allowing it on the platform? I don't condone it and I find it wrong. What these people at the riot did was a federal crime. There are people who were involved in the Capitol Hill riot. I agree that there needs to be boundaries so people are not being terminated off of the platforms. It does not matter if it was Google, Instagram, or Facebook. Therefore, no one needs to go through any issues. However, I find this change taken way too far just because you hear something that you don't like, as long as it's not illegal. Bullying someone is not protected by the First Amendment. There are lots of tech companies, especially YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms that let explicit extreme content on the platform. If posting these types of extreme content was an issue, then why was it not put on the terms of service? I'm not saying that I'm against the First Amendment. I understand that these major tech companies have their own business models and it belongs to them, not to us. We're not the ones that make the rules. Why was it not put on the terms of service if lying on someone was an issue? I mean misinformation. If YouTube did not want people to upload a video about, for example, extreme abuse, why was it not put on the terms of service that people should not be uploading that type of stuff? I have nothing against these major platforms in general. I find social media platforms an effective way to market ourselves and put our name out there, but there needs to be some type of balance. My thing is, why wasn't that done before you let people on the platform and it was first established? It should never change technology. Donald Trump was banned on TikTok. I understand that's not our job to control what they should and should not do. I believe that there's a possibility that these major companies do not, after they deplatformed these people because their beliefs do not align with their ideologies, I felt that things should have been done earlier. I don't know why things should have been done sooner if posting certain things became an issue. I remember when Twitter has let people post extreme demonic images. I know that Twitter acts very weird in itself. They're actually bad at filtering out photos we don't want to see. It feels that democracy is dying. We're in a place where free speech is already dying. I think that we live in a scary time because there are tech companies who have the power to suppress opinions. Maybe they don't like what you have to say and it really sucks. It feels that we're not allowed to have our own opinions. The companies are going to be policed. It feels like the military. It's very clear that these major companies are policing what we are posting because they want to make sure that your post aligns with their beliefs. I would not blame anyone for being afraid to post something. I believe that is why we are on our way towards censorship. It's obvious these major companies want to add a warning if we say specific words that they don't like, especially on YouTube and Instagram. That includes podcasting. It's possible. These tech companies are multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm not dictating what people should and should not believe in. It's not my business to speak about it. However, there is a difference between facts and opinions. I have a problem. I have a problem when people mix facts and opinions together. If people have a problem with the facts, then I can't force you to believe it. That's just how it is. Saying that you don't like something is considered an opinion. That's not violating the First Amendment. If you say certain things that are considered a crime, then it's a violation of the First Amendment. I hope that I'm not wrong about it. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it is an opinion. Whether you agree with a statement or not is an opinion. I don't see I see the comment section being diminished depending on what kind of content you put out there. I feel that's going to happen more. I could see Instagram deleting comment sections depending on what you're posting. I love seeing comment sections and seeing people agree to disagree. I'm not saying that both Gab and Parler should not exist. It's like them saying you cannot express this type of stuff on your Instagram story and your Instagram feed. You cannot post this stuff on IGTV, especially when you know that's not problematic. I like to hear different opinions. There are people who were deplatformed for misinformation. Alex Jones, um, Alex Jones' podcast has been deplatformed. He has no YouTube channel. He has no social media accounts. He has no listen platform. He had a podcast at one point in time. If there are right wing podcasters who have been deplatformed, then where are they going to have a podcast if Spotify deleted them? That's the part that sucks. I mean, it doesn't have to be just right wingers and conservatives. This could affect other people who tell the truth, and they don't have to be conservatives and right wingers. Alex Jones is also a good example of censorship. Alex Jones has been posting some misinformation. One about the Sandy Hook shooting, which was in late 2012. He was sued for defamation, then he lost that lawsuit. I'm surprised that Ben Shapiro was not being targeted for censorship. He is a conservative. I'm also surprised that it took long for major social media platforms to deplatform Donald Trump and other well-known right-wingers, including members from Trump allies. I don't believe in canceling someone. I don't believe in canceling somebody. That is the worst thing that people can think of. I don't know why people think that cancel culture is a way to go when someone is likely to be hated or someone does something problematic. I'm not agreeing with this at all. Plus, I'm not defending anyone at all. Lots of people rely on these major companies because they are very credible. My thing is that they're not perfect. They have been around for more than a decade. I believe in being fair. I believe in giving warnings depending on what platform you're in. That is why people trust them because they are the tech companies that people rely on. Everyone uses Google search, Bing search, Yahoo search, and other search engines. How many people use YouTube? let's say a lot of people. YouTube is used for mostly entertainment and educational purposes, plus it's used urgently. Lots of people prefer Apple products and they love downloading from the Apple App Store. I don't agree with the hypocritical censorship. Lots of people have Amazon products. People use Kindle and other technology products made from Amazon. I don't want people to get my words twisted. I understand why these major tech companies stepped away from Parler because they don't want to have a bad reputation by agreeing with their beliefs. I can understand that. Let me talk about this. If these major companies did not exist, then where are we going to go? If Google, Yahoo, and Bing search did not exist, then where are we going to go? How are we going to search online? If Shopify did not exist, as well as other e-commerce shopping platforms, how are people going to run a small business online? I mean Amazon Marketplace and eBay Marketplace. Technology makes an impact in people's lives because there are people who rely on the internet to make money online. People make stocks, people make money off of bonds. There are people who own a small business, people make music, people do graphic design on the internet. Technology is important in people's lives. My thing is, if you want to target problematic people, why would you go after content that sends a bad message? I mean, a dangerous message. Send them a warning. Don't delete an account without a warning. It sounds fair to delete an account that legitimately violates the terms of service. People make money from copyrighted content. People make money from cryptocurrency. My thing is that the internet cannot take away our platform from us. I think that the internet forgets that your job is on the internet. They may not know it at all. It's impossible for the CEO of Parler to do business with major corporations. That includes PayPal because people make money on the internet. The internet has been a full-time job for several people. Imagine if people were doing their job and getting paid. If people do not have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and other social media platforms, they may not have many options to get paid. They may not be able to get paid through PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, or Stripe. Maybe the only option is to use credit card or debit cards to get paid. It ruins your ability to get electronic paychecks or commissions. I heard that several people kept talking about building an app for conservatives. I learned that you cannot expect a low budget when people build a social media platform. I don't have all of the knowledge to build an app. The thing is that additional features can cost ten thousands of dollars. I guess that it's a bold thing for Parler to be their own platform. So they are about free speech. As far as I know, you're working with lots of people. I don't own an app. I never created an app. I don't have the investment to build an app. I don't use Parler and I'm not a right winger. It's very clear that Apple, Amazon, and Google made a bold move to suppress Parler. There's another social media platform claiming to be about free speech. It's called Gab. Gab is for right wingers and conservatives. I never use Gab and I never will use it. I would never be interested in it. As far as I saw, the interface of the platform looks very established and clean. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if major app companies are not going to accept Parler and Gap, would conservatives build their own tech company to only accept conservatives' apps? I mean, I think that would take time to build a tech company. As far as I know, it's expensive to build a tech company. Just because there are no rules, it does not mean that there are no consequences. In other words, no one is going to check you. I would not fall for the idea that there should be no rules. I want to talk about Joe Rogan, and this needs to be discussed. You guys know who Joe Rogan is. If you don't know who he is, then you're not up to date. He's one of the most influential podcasters in the world. He is a multimillionaire. People were very pissed off. He interviewed influential people, including Alex Jones. He interviewed one of the well known music artists and rappers. That includes other celebrities. People were very curious. Joe Rogan had a $100 million deal with Spotify, then something happened. Some of his episodes from Spotify were deleted. It's likely because he interviewed some right wingers. Spotify employees threatened to go on strike if they don't have the oversight to edit people's episodes on Spotify. That includes Joe Rogan's. It's to control who to interview and not to interview on his podcast. This caused his audience to be very outraged. It's some form of censorship. There were several people who said that he is a seller for the deal with $100 million with Spotify. The left is also upset with Joe Rogan. This made lots of Spotify employees upset because he interviewed Abigail Schreier. She was the same person who promoted her book, Irreversible Damage. the transgender craze seducing our daughters. During Schreier's conversation with Rogan, Schreier invalidated the experience of trans and non-binary kids and teens and made numerous dangerous, entirely unsound false statements. She compared transitioning among teenagers to historic adolescent phenomena such as eating disorders, self-harm, and the occult, calling this age group the same population that gets involved in cutting demonic possession, witchcraft, anorexia, bulimia, etc. She even described wanting to transition as a contagion with the potential to infect other children with the same ideas, drawing yet more scientifically baseless parallels with eating disorders. Anorexics, they are always really careful when they put them together. She said that. She also said they have to be on hospital wards because we know that it'll cause it to spread. It was also about whether or not women should be going through therapy by taking hormone supplements. Spotify employees believe that the episode with Abigail Schreier was transphobic. Joe Rogan stated that his podcast will be on YouTube, but there will be no full episodes. There are more than 10 meetings within the office of Spotify. He will upload clips from his podcast depending on what he talks about. The CEO of Spotify defended Joe Rogan. He said that he should keep his episodes where he interviewed right wingers or problematic people. The CEO took his side. I will be taking a break. Be right back. I'm back. Let's get into the deal with Spotify. My thought is that I can support Joe Rogan having a $100 million deal with Spotify. I feel that Spotify has a deal with Joe Rogan because they know that he is the biggest podcaster of all time. He has been generating revenue before the deal. I don't have an issue with it at all. Some people do. With or without Spotify, he gets paid super well with his podcast. He's living completely well. I can never get mad at that at all. I'm not hating. I'm not jealous of him at all. Some people were not agreeing with this at all. I mean the contract between Joe and Spotify. In other words, they have a problem with the contract. He has been blessed to have a podcast and he has been making millions off of his podcast episodes. He's very lucky to have this huge payday. This contract has been worked out. There's nothing you can do about it. Imagine how much he's getting paid while his contract with Spotify is active. He is the biggest podcaster of all time. I feel that what Spotify employees are doing is a form of censorship. It feels like the next YouTube with these podcasts. YouTube does not feel like a place where you can create content whatever you want anymore because there are a new set of rules that people have to comply. It feels that Spotify employees want to control what you can and cannot talk about in your podcast. It's a shame. They are treating this like YouTube. Whenever you do interviews, it feels that Spotify employees want to control who you can and cannot interview at all. You can disagree with Joe Rogan. People have the right to their opinion. When it comes to having a Spotify platform, I find the idea to edit someone's episode wrong after it is published. He has a right to interview problematic people. He has a right to interview controversial people. I may not like the stuff that he said for a reason. I'm not the one to be hating on him. He is allowed to do what his podcast will be about. People can talk about anything they want. One of the main things that I like about Joe Rogan is that he will give anyone a platform. He's the one that interviewed well-known influential people, including celebrities. I can disagree with him. I can agree with him on a lot of things. I don't consider him a controversial person. He's brave enough to have the hardest, painful conversations. I can respect him for having conversations that most people would not be able to have with people they know. You may not like the type of people he interviewed, especially controversial people. That includes problematic people. I can respect him for being unbiased in every episode. He's open to speak to people from different political backgrounds. Joe Rogan has no problem being transparent. He is basically a news platform, not exactly a news platform. There was a time when he apologized because he talked about the wildfires in the West Coast. He was saying some false statements about it. This is my thoughts on the Spotify employees. The Spotify employees have no right to edit or control Joe Rogan's podcast. I have not seen a strike. They have no right to control anyone's podcast, especially when it's on Spotify. Why would you want to edit the podcast that does not belong to you? It doesn't make any sense. You want to censor and edit the show you have no creative control whatsoever. It's because they want to make changes and they want to decide what content can be profitable. It's because they want to make changes and they want to decide what content can be profitable and what cannot be profitable. I feel that Spotify employees think that they have authority to control not just Joe Rogan's Spotify podcast, but other people's podcasts. He has the full license to his podcast. I feel that a number of Spotify employees do. Later on, Joe Rogan had something to say. Just because you see something that you don't like, it does not mean that it should be an issue, especially when Joe Rogan is not offending anyone. I think that they are plotting on him because they don't like his opinion. I bet that they are protesting against Joe Rogan. It could be possible if Spotify employees are trying to slander Joe Rogan so they can make him look bad. Maybe it'll have something to do with saying something sensitive. I don't think that it will work because he has millions of listeners and they understand him. However, someone made a good point. It was a commentary YouTuber named Optimus. He mentioned that firing people would not work if they tried to control Joe Rogan's podcast. I can agree with that because no matter who works there, people are going to do their jobs. I don't work for Spotify at all. It's not the actual problem that Joe Rogan caused. It seems that the Spotify employees are offended by his content because he talks about news. Joe Rogan will have his episodes on YouTube, but there are no full episodes at all. I don't know why Joe Rogan is an issue with the Spotify employees. If Spotify employees had an issue with people's podcast, if someone said certain words and it's an issue, then it should have been worked out earlier. I never thought that people's podcasts would be problematic. I always noticed that Spotify employees really focus on people's music. People have explicit music. I'm sure that record labels are registered to Spotify. If your songs have explicit language, then Spotify has to know. They really mess with people's music albums. It depends on what the song is about. It can be about killing people, using drugs, committing crimes, wearing luxury clothes, being involved in gangs, or committing a crime such as money fraud. They are treating Spotify like the next YouTube. I don't find anything wrong with this podcast. It's not like he's telling people to do something bad. I feel that Spotify is putting money on the forefront. I feel that Spotify employees were complaining because they have been getting paid less than Joe Rogan. It could be possible. I think that Spotify employees are forming together to censor Joe Rogan. These people would say, how could you let him say that? They'll just accuse him of being transphobic, homophobic, and a racist. Like they knew what he was getting himself into when he signed the contract. I think that they want to get rid of him. They want to suppress Joe Rogan. I think that they want him to fail. My thing is, if you think that it's okay to have control over someone's podcast, then you should never work for Spotify. There was an issue with an interview with Tim Dillon and Abigail Schreier. My thing is, have they put the same energy to suppress music artists for using explicit language in their lyrics? I'm not saying that explicit music is not allowed, but you have a problem when podcasters say explicit language. That doesn't make any sense to me. There are podcast listening platforms that don't mess with other people's podcasts because they see things that they're not going to like. They hear the words that they're not going to like when it comes out of our mouth. I noticed the hypocrisy that was going on. Some people said that they will not mess with Spotify. I understand where people are coming from, but it may sound very insincere to me. I only use Spotify for music and listening to some podcasts. Some people some people said that they will stop paying for their premium subscription on Spotify. Let me ask you this. If you're going to stop listening to podcasts on Spotify, where are you going to listen to music in? YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Music, Google Music? If you want to listen to audio music without ads, then you're paying a subscription for it. Yeah, you're gonna like some music tracks that gets released every year. And you're gonna head to Spotify, you're gonna head to YouTube. Even if you feel that you're going to stop supporting him and accuse him of being a sellout, he's gonna be fine regardless. That's not gonna change at all. I know that he will be good. The main concerns are for the regular content creators. I want to discuss the censorship with Onlyfans, including other social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. Instagram revised its term of use on December 20th, 2020. The sex work community on Onlyfans were mad about it. The terms of use included updating data transparency, imposing tighter guidelines on disabling accounts, and further clarifying their definition of sexually explicit material and solicitation. Sex workers, especially adult content creators, sex workers, especially adult content creators of OnlyFans, are not permitted to market themselves on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Under the sexual request section of the community guidelines on Facebook, Instagram's rules state that users cannot give or request pornographic content. Users are also prohibited from sharing the links to external pornographic websites. These sex workers are in fear because there are sex workers who use OnlyFans as a primary source of income. Suggestive emojis or references to wetness of or an erection is not allowed, including an eggplant. Using specific emojis makes it difficult for people to promote. Sex workers from TikTok are also banned from the platform. Mainstream OnlyFans creators like Bella Thorne are still on the platform. People on TikTok are banned from sharing sexual content. TikTok considered it to be exploitation. A TikTok representative confirmed that they don't allow content that commits, promotes, or glorifies sexual. A TikTok representative confirmed that they don't allow content that commits, promotes, or glorifies sexual solicitation or allows accounts that attempt to redirect traffic. It was not stated why external links are banned. It's unfair that regular content creators were unjustly banned from TikTok, especially when they are not posting explicit content. Furthermore, many mainstream creators on TikTok post links to their OnlyFans in their bios, including Bella Thorne. That caused tremendous uproar when she joined the platform last fall. She was accused of misleading her customers and adding to sex worker stigma. There's nothing wrong with having a second job. I have nothing against it at all. It's not my job to tell people what to do as long as the job is legal and safe for the person's sake. I'm not knocking anyone for working in the sex industry. I don't like what OnlyFans turned out to be. The fact that OnlyFans turned to not only the sex work industry, but also a celebrity social media platform. I understand that there are people whose first job is not making enough money the way they used to be. I'm not knocking anyone for working hard. I hate how some influencers change the OnlyFans platform. These people have enough money to live. Why do you need an OnlyFans? Just for attention? Just for flossing on social media? I think everyone gets it. I don't have a problem with people having TikTok and doing some explicit challenge. I feel that there are several influencers who are using it for the wrong reasons. I'm wondering how many people are on Pornhub and use OnlyFans. Have there been people using Pornhub to promote their OnlyFans? I'm just curious. I would be surprised if Pornhub bans people from promoting their OnlyFans. I understand that it's hard. However, I can't speak for everyone. I get that it's tiring to constantly work. We all need to rest. I feel that OnlyFans is defeating the purpose to make money from their living room, from their home, from their bedroom. Why are you deleting these people? It's not my job to tell anyone to leave because they have to make money. You don't know if these people are able to have a second job. I believe that people have the right to work. That will never be an issue with me. It's very clear that COVID restrictions laid people off. A lot of people were laid off. It was not safe for several people to come to work during the pandemic. I find it hurtful because they are in financial ruins. They are facing financial difficulties. There are people who do not have a job that's too secure. It will be hard for people to survive. I agree that explicit images don't belong on social media, including Instagram and TikTok. Trisha Paytas' account was banned from Instagram because she was promoting sex on her account. She has an OnlyFans account. Her longtime fans know she's been selling adult entertainment as part of her brand. Trisha also sold access to her premium Snapchat through her platforms, where she would post and sell explicit photos and videos. I believe that Trisha has been selling adult content to her fans for a long time. Maybe it's not the first time she has been selling adult content to her fans. On OnlyFans, it's not an issue that major influencers post explicit content. It's an issue when regular people do it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't agree with banning these accounts because someone has OnlyFans. I find it a form of censorship because you're basically taking away their ability to make money on social media. It should not be an issue if people are not promoting it on their social media feeds. I consider it to be an issue to take away their ability to make money off of social media. That includes Facebook and Instagram. I don't know if the CEO of OnlyFans spoke out. These people on OnlyFans would sell their content for showing their bodies. They could also shake in front of the camera, doing some type of explicit dance challenge coming from TikTok. Maybe not all of them, but several of them. On OnlyFans, I'm assuming that you could sell anything, maybe not anymore. Don't get me wrong, Snapchat complied with this. Snapchat is very solid when it comes to their own policies. I would not be surprised if Twitter banned people for promoting their OnlyFans because they always ban people. I always see people promoting nude pictures on Twitter. All I do is block it because I'm not getting used to it at all. Twitter needs to get it together. They need to fix their filtering tools. You're basically censoring these regular content creators on OnlyFans. These social media platforms are basically censoring regular content creators who have OnlyFans. There's no balance at all. Overall, I don't think that this is fair to regular content creators when they're not posting explicit images on their social media feeds, especially Instagram and TikTok. I feel that the celebrities and major influencers are defeating the purpose of OnlyFans. You're basically taking away regular content creators' platform. This is unfair to them. It's very unfortunate because these social media platforms, including TikTok, do not care about the future for these regular content creators. They don't know what their situation is. They don't know their financial situation. They don't know whether or not these people have to work extra hard to live. Not all regular content creators are promoting their OnlyFans on their Instagram stories. They're not promoting their explicit images on Instagram stories and their Instagram feeds, as well as other social media feeds. Let's not forget that all social media platforms, including OnlyFans, are diminishing people's ability to have a career online. They don't have anywhere else to go. I wish that it did not go that far for lots of regular content creators to be banned off of social media platforms, including OnlyFans, Instagram, and TikTok. I heard that there are several regular content creators being banned from OnlyFans before 2020. That is very sad. I did not think that it was a recurring story. I feel that these social media platforms need to fix their system because not every single person who works in that particular industry posts explicit content on their social media accounts. Again, I know that people were very happy about Donald Trump being banned off of all social media platforms. We can condone and call out what is considered wrong, but we have to be careful what we wish for. What happened to these people can affect us. I know I did not wish that unlikable people would be deleted off of the platforms. I'm not defending anyone at all. You know what I mean? Not all wishes are good. It does not have a good outcome. I never wish that this can happen to anyone. I haven't heard much updates about Spotify employees and Joe Rogan. I have not heard stories from individual Spotify employees complain about the pay because of the deal between Joe Rogan and Spotify. I'm not saying that I would be surprised if Spotify CEO turns on Joe Rogan. I mean, Joe Rogan is untouchable. I'm curious to see what happens between Spotify and Joe Rogan. I feel that the whole internet censorship thing already got worse. I actually feel that the storm is coming when it comes to Google, Apple, and Amazon. When it comes to OnlyFans, I wonder what the CEO of OnlyFans is going to say when it comes to people speaking out and talking about how it is a mistake to be terminated off of the platform, including Instagram and Facebook. I forgot Snapchat too. I'm curious to see what kind of updates there will be. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some type of online protest against OnlyFans and other social media platforms. All we can do is wait for it. I will sit back on it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bird Podcast. I know that this episode was a lot to deliver and I spoke a lot. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you are a new listener and you have not followed this podcast, it is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This podcast is available on other listening platforms. I'll speak in the next episode. Bye bye.